You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981.
And now, here's your host.
Welcome back to the program. I'm Zev Brenner. I was at the Kiddush Fest, which billed itself as the largest collection of whiskeys and Kiddush food from around the world in New York City. And I got to see some very interesting products, including one made by our guests. And we'll talk about a really unique company, which is Koval. But our guest is Dr. Sonat Birnecker Hart. She spent over a decade as a full professor of Jewish studies in both the United States and Germany. And then in 2008, she gave it all up to co-found the international award-winning distillery Koval. She's the president, and they make lots of variety of products. They're all certified kosher. And she's been passionate about Jewish culture and activism, even though she gave up academia, but she didn't give up organizing Limud in Berlin and being with the Jewish Diplomatic Corps. And she's the chair of the steering committee of the JDC Corps. So Dr. Sonat Birnecker Hart, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, Seth.
Was it hard giving up academia? I mean, you were teaching to be getting to the distillery business.
Well, you
How
know,
did you go about? Did
you
you get beer halls in Germany? Or?
No. Academia does, however, lead one to whiskey one way or another, I suppose. But, you know, for us, it was really about a lifestyle change. My husband and I, we were about to have our first child, and we were thinking about what was most important to us. And for us, that was really being close to family. So my parents were getting older. We didn't live near them. We decided that we wanted to move closer to them. And it became a natural moment in which to decide, okay, do we want to continue with our lives? I was, as you mentioned, a professor. My husband was a diplomat, and we decided, you know what, let's start something together. Let's create a business. Let's make something of high quality. Let's be close to family. Let's work together. And that's what we did. And whiskey ended up being a solution, which it is.
Quite a solution, right?
Yeah.
People love that solution. So
Yeah.
here you are. You give up academia. You've founded a distillery. In fact, you are one of the largest fully independent woman-owned craft distilleries in the United States. And you make a lot of variety of products, all certified kosher, by the way. So I'm happy to see that. So how did you, first of all, what made you decide to give up academia to be involved in the brew? And what's the brouhaha all about?
The brouhaha. Well, you know, it's a business about celebration. So in that sense, you know, it's wonderful to be in this business. But this business actually has a long history, you know, with, you know, regard to Jewish culture. I mean, Jews have always been in the liquor business. In fact, the first still was created by a Jewish woman in ancient Egypt called Maria the Jewess. So this has actually been, you know, distillation is something that Jews have always done. In fact, we try to distill down ideas every week as much as we possibly can. So this just sort of became, you know, the liquid form of that. But for us, it was really...
It is quite a jump from teaching, being a professor, and just giving that up to making whiskeys and spirits. So I know, I guess you're in the classroom, you're in good spirits, and you decided to take a leave of action in that sense. But I was just curious because it is an interesting jump and transition.
Right. Well, that's certainly what a lot of friends and family thought. They thought we were a little bit off
Did they
the
think you're
rocker,
drinking too much, or?
Yeah, wanting to leave health insurance and tenure to do this. But at the
Right.
end of the day, I mean, my husband had grown up doing some distilling as a kid at chores. He's from Austria, so he grew up sort of doing some of these things. So we had the knowledge, and really we were trying to think of something unique and interesting to do. And the brewing industry, the craft brewing industry, had a really huge wave, you know, in the 80s and the 90s, and people were getting into that. And we started looking into the possibility of taking some of the knowledge that he had, you know, garnered growing up, you know, doing these types of things, making cider with his grandparents, making, you know, distilled spirits, and bringing that to America. But what we found was that in the United States at the time, you know, there was no ability to sort of be a small scale, like really a home distiller. It's a federal offense. It still is. So we had to really figure out how to do this on sort of a larger scale. When Koval started, there were only about 26 distilleries in the entire United States, which is very few. We started in 2008. And if you think about that, just by comparison, a country like Austria has about 26,000 distilleries. So we were very far behind. We became basically the first distillery in Chicago since the mid 1800s. And in
Wow.
doing that, we also had to change the laws. I had to go down to Springfield in Illinois to make it possible for us to have a craft distillery, to be able to do tours and tastings and a lot of the things that one expects when one goes to, let's say, a craft brewery or a winery. These things were not legal or allowed for a distillery. So I think, we got into it because we were excited. It was something new. It was something that we knew a bit about. We were both academics. We did lots of research. We became really entrenched in understanding how to do things at a time in which this industry was very, very young. And it was very lucky because in doing it at that time, we started helping others that were getting started. And now we've actually managed to educate about 3,500 people already in our courses and workshops and in our consulting in how to start a distillery. We've set up over 200 distilleries for others all over the world. We set up the first distillery in Jerusalem. And we set up the largest distillery in Uganda, many distilleries across Europe, the United States, Canada. So it's been quite an adventure. So we not only dove in, we really dove into the deep end and have done sort of all different angles of this business, from representing the manufacturers of the equipment to helping people make products and product development to having our own distillery. It's been quite a spirited adventure.
Yes, I see that. And you're selling all over the world, and you have whiskeys. You have award-winning. I see you got some medals for your bourbons and your rye whiskeys and cranberry gin, which is an unusual. I think I had that. It was very good. So
Yeah.
how'd you go from, again, it's amazing because here you are, academics, not usually known for savvy business skills, and you're all over the world now.
Well, part of it is also, you never throw anything away. And one thing that, I learned in academia is certainly the importance of research, figuring things out. And I think that's true when one is an entrepreneur. I mean, one has to figure things out. And, we didn't come into this business with a lot of money. A lot of people, there's the old saying, how do you make money in the liquor industry? Well, you start with a lot of money. Well, that wasn't us. We started with what was going to be a $30,000 down payment on a home, which we never end up buying because we've invested everything back into the business over and over again. In fact, we're staying with my mom right now, living with her, still investing into the business. And it's been a wonderful family adventure, and figuring out how to do things in a way that makes sense, that's efficient, that saves money, has been part of just the puzzle of it all. And I think that that's true in academics. If you're writing a thesis or you're writing an article, you're really putting a puzzle together. You're trying to find the right quotes. You're trying to find the right, research. You're trying to, find those beautiful morsels that just make your article shine or your ideas come to life. And this is the same thing. It's just in a business framework, and it's a lot of fun.
So where do you see yourself going from here?
Well, we certainly love what we're doing. And, one of the most recent things that we've done that's been a development is we've opened up a tasting room at the distillery. That was stalled, obviously, because of the pandemic. We had hoped to open in the beginning of 2020, and clearly, that didn't happen. So we finally opened up our tasting room, our visitor center. We have a patio. So that's been a new development for us, which has been really a lot of fun. And we're also expanding. We continue to expand. We're looking to enter new markets. We might be entering India this year. We've started a little bit with South America. We entered Chile recently. So these are, it's all part of the fun and just expanding. And, it's a business. It's all about l'chaim. So we love it that our spirits are there when people have wonderful things to celebrate.
Oh, it's wonderful, and you're smiling and you're enjoying what you're doing. That's the most important thing, right? That's if you don't enjoy what
Absolutely.
you're doing, then forget about it. And
For
I assume
sure.
you probably weren't smiling as much in the classroom as you
Well,
are in this.
I love that too. I love teaching. I
Why
had
give a
such
course
good
on
times.
whiskey? Can't you give
You
a
know,
course on whiskey?
well, we do. I mean, I didn't do that at the university, although I did speak to some degree, when I was teaching Jewish studies of Europe. There's a really rich and interesting history of Jews involved in the spirits industry, involved in many of the companies that became, essential spirit businesses in parts of Europe. For example, Hungary had a very developed Jewish, spirits companies. But that's true for many parts of Europe. And then even if you go back in time, if you go into the Middle Ages, Jews had a lot of different taverns, and that became one of the things that was thought of as sort of a Jewish business. So,
The Kretschmer, right? That's
mhm. Yeah,
Christian keeper was known in Eastern Europe.
yeah.
So, speaking of Eastern Europe, you had sold in Russia, but that's changed, correct?
Well,
You
it
used to sell
changed
in Russia.
with the war. Yeah, with the war.
Was that a
So
tough
we're back
decision? Was that
home.
a big market for you in Russia?
It was a growing market. Yes.
Oh, wow. Especially the vodka, I assume.
Well, more whiskey and gin,
Or
actually.
whiskey, yeah. And ginger. Okay, 'cause I know they're maybe you introduce them to some other spirits as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, for
So,
sure.
which is terrific. So you seem to really be into it, which is great. You're fantastic. And you private label for people as well?
We've done a lot of private labeling as well. I mean, we've been in many different sides of the industry. So, whether it is helping people find equipment and start distilleries, or whether it is, um, you know, helping people develop products, helping people with everything, where they just want a full turnkey operation. We've even made baijiu in clay pots. I mean, we've gone to the limits of what is possible in this industry, and made all sorts of things for other people, and that's been fun and exciting too. But with our own products, we like to make very refined and elegant spirits. We use only the heart cut of the distillate, which is really the fillet of what comes off the still. So it's really the best part of what comes off the still, the purest ethanol. And in doing that, we age our products in new American oak that is very, very well seasoned oak, and where even the heads are charred, not just the barrel itself. And we can trace back every barrel to the field on which the grains are grown. So, we take a lot of pride in how we do things. We work with organic farmers locally. So it's a lovely project. And in doing so, we can show our children what it means to work, and the importance of, that it's not just about taking pride and doing things well and using the best ingredients to do so, but it's also about, when you have a company, you are also a member of your community. And that also means, helping your community how you can, giving tzedakah, making that be a part of what we do. And that's important.
Did you distill in your children the love for whiskey?
No, not yet. They consider it a widget. For them, it's just about, let's get more out the door. This is the toy budget here we're talking. They don't care what it is. For them, it could be, nuts and bolts.
Now, you can't make a scotch because it has to be officially in Scotland, correct? But do you have anything
Exactly. But
similar
they
that you
can't make bourbon, so we're even.
right, okay. So you get back at them. Are you available in the New York metropolitan area?
We sure are. We absolutely are. So,
Wonderful.
and if you don't see it, you should ask for it. We're distributed by Opeachy, so anyone can order it.
Dr. Sonat Birnecker Hart. She was originally an academic, taught in university in Berlin, but in 2008 she formed Koval, which, as you heard, is a leading distiller and doing all certified kosher, including some exotic flavors. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Zev. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks for listening.
For continuous Jewish programs, talklinenetwork.com, or our 24-hour-a-day listen line at 641-741-0389. For past shows, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, Instagram, and all major podcast platforms, or jewishpodcast.org. Thanks for listening to the Talkline Network.